My name is Alakanani Tireleng. I am the founder of Satoshi Center, which is a Bitcoin hub in Gaborone, Botswana. What we simply do, we educate people about Bitcoin. So I've been doing that for the longest time. Since 2012, I've been on this journey of educating people about Bitcoin. And I've been doing it not only in my country, but I've done it in a lot of African countries, helping to set Bitcoin communities. I am joined on this fireside chat. We're going to be having conversation with Dex, and we're going to be talking about crypto regulation. But maybe before we do that, it will be good for him to also introduce himself, because I have done that, and then we can flow from there.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
So hi, everybody. My name is Dax Hansen. I'm a partner at the law firm of Perkins Coie. And I think I'm here because I've known Sinclair since the beginning of Bill Murray, BitMari. I've helped him. And I've run into him at about every major crypto conference and event. So we've become good friends over the years. I've been working on blockchain matters since the beginning. Since really, I think I'm probably, however you count it, Bitcoin lawyer number 1 or number 2. I've been working in the space since 2010 to help people build out the infrastructure, the wallets, the vaults, the exchanges, the brokerages, and then launch the different protocols out there and build the businesses, help the innovators, whether they're the startups, or help traditional companies, established companies, ingest blockchain technology and digital assets. And so I've had a front row seat from the beginning here to see how regulation and laws have developed in the United States, and I do a lot of international work as well. And so I've been, I guess I've got war scars and wounds from the U.S. and internationally. I know this is a nonviolent place, but we've certainly seen lots of hard things happen with companies and innovators who've been trying to change the world, and we as lawyers have tried to be good advocates, zealous advocates for those clients who are changing the world.
Yeah. Talking about laws and regulation, this is what we're going to be discussing. This is what we're going to be chatting about. When we look at where it all started, maybe we look at the history of cryptocurrency, we look at some of the things that have happened, some of the historical events that have happened since the inception of Bitcoin, all the way to where we are today, talking about crypto regulation. Where did it all start, and how far are we with regulations? Are we going to see other countries or having global regulations that are similar in as far as crypto regulation is concerned?
Sure. Well, so the first regulations, the first crypto-specific regulations in the United States came from the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network in 2013, like May of 2013. And so while people were starting to work on really just Bitcoin. Bitcoin was the only digital asset at the time, back from like 2009. We had to just analogize to existing laws, like the Bank Secrecy Act or the money transmission laws. We had to look at the existing laws and figure out how this product would fit. And the really interesting thing is that most laws are like technology or product agnostic, right? Like there's laws that are out there that cover a certain category of activity. So like if you're an issuer or you're you're a custodian of assets, right? If you back some sort of asset, there are laws that apply to you. But what you do with something like Bitcoin that doesn't have an issuer, right? Like there's nobody behind it. It's not like a prepaid access card, right? Like a stored value card where there's somebody that's behind it. And so we had to start to develop at least a new lexicon, a terminology to talk about these new products and how they would be regulated. And so FinCEN, for instance, they just came up with some guidance that made up terms like exchanger and administrator that's nowhere in the law, but it made some sense, right?
Maybe to interject a little bit, I'm just wondering, are we like immaturely trying to come up with regulations when we don't actually really understand the crypto space? Like, are we seeing the governments and whoever is responsible quickly coming into regulations that really, when they actually don't understand the space?
So yes, we've seen a lot of development of crypto-specific laws. So there are, so there's the laws like the New York BIT license, which was one of the first laws that took into account virtual currency business activity. We've had the state money transmitter laws that have taken into account digital assets in addition to things like money orders and stored value. In Europe, we developed, there's a law, the markets in crypto assets regulation that identified clear buckets of products and how they are regulated under their laws. So we have come pretty far in the development of laws in the United States and internationally, and I'd say that for the most part, like most countries have a banking law, some sort of like a financial services law that may be a little bit targeted somebody other than a bank. There's anti-money laundering, sometimes some sanctions, some sort of securities or commodities laws. And the question is just how do they apply, and have the regulators or the lawmakers tailored the laws to the specific use cases or the specific scenarios. And what we have here, at least with crypto, is that we have a decentralized environment as opposed to the centralized environment that have existed for thousands of years, right? And so there's some friction in developing these laws and these rules, and there's friction, even though these are all internet-based protocols that theoretically can be international, there's friction at the borders because not all jurisdictions view these laws the same way, in particular the securities laws. That's where the United States and really Canada are very different from a lot of other countries. The things that are like tokens that are put out there that aren't some sort of like a ownership interest and a financial return in some sort of organization, those things are not viewed as securities in most places. In the United States, they are.
So in other words, we still want to see these same laws that have been put right now in place changing because we're still kind of trying to understand the environment or kind of understand the depth of cryptocurrencies.
I think so. I mean, I guess I would kind of take it in a slightly different direction, which is to say that for the most part, like in the United States, our laws, the existing laws work. Like they cover the types of activities, consumer protection, investor protection, they work pretty well. But I will say that I'll say Bitcoin and crypto assets, they're sexy.
Okay.
They're sexy, okay? And so everybody in this legal system wants a piece of the action, okay? And I learned pretty early on in practicing law that not everybody is like pulling together. Like we're not trying to, like regulators and law enforcement and policymakers, they're not all trying to like build the same future state and vision that a lot of the industry is, okay, right? Like even though there's a better future, that not everybody's aligned on that. And that, unfortunately, I'd say that for like a lawmaker, often the win is to make a law. Yeah. For a law enforcement, it's to enforce the law. Yeah. For policy, it's to go develop the law, right? And the judges, it's to like issue some sort of opinion. And so we end up with like, you know, probably like these own sort of special interests, if you will, being played out just because they can, and people don't want to lose a little piece of it. It's kind of sexy. And then there's also some legitimate, but also some illegitimate arguments about like in consumer protection or investor protection, right? Like there's like a paternal state here, right? Like the regulators are saying, hey, we want to protect you from harm. But in many situations, like these technologies allow for peer-to-peer decentralized relationships where you don't, there's no intermediary in the middle that we typically would regulate. And so we should be asking ourselves, who are we trying to protect ourselves from?
Yeah.
Right? And unfortunately, the early regulations, including a lot of the state regulations, were like a kitchen sink. That like every law that existed before, plus other protections, were all thrown in just because it was unfamiliar territory. Yeah. And we had to, the whole industry, including me and my law firm, had to like have conversations one at a time about what's really appropriate. Like, do we need that regulation? Do we need that sort of control? Do we need that protection? The industry can help themselves by avoiding fraud, right? Like we have had a lot of fraud, we've had a lot of speculation, and you know, to the extent that people lose money, we will always have more laws, and you know, things like the FTX debacle will set this industry back because there's, you know, less trust and perhaps more regulations imposed.
Okay. Do you see regulation as, let me rephrase that. Is it possible that regulations can also kind of hinder innovation if we kind of harshly set up difficult, tough laws, you know, for innovators in the crypto space? Do you see, you know, those regulations kind of hindering innovation in the future?
Oh,
because I foresee, when I look at the crypto space, I tend to think that there's going to be like a lot of development, a lot of, you know, we came from all the way from, let's say, simple being Bitcoin alone, and then we had Ethereum, we have altcoins, we have the DeFi, we see all these different development coming in. So do you think somehow as this space progresses, innovation will kind of clamp down or hinder innovation?
So yes, on the one hand,
Yeah.
Regulations and laws can stifle innovation, right?
Yeah.
It can prevent and it can drive people offshore. But on the other hand, if you can get regulatory certainty, then people will build here, right? And
Okay.
in the United States right now, we have regulatory certainty on almost everything except securities laws. But because securities laws have such big consequences, it really is a hindrance to innovation. And many projects are going overseas if they can't find a way to deal with their project within the confines of securities law compliance.
Okay, maybe just to wrap it off, because I saw the timekeeper saying it's time. Let's maybe look at one good thing about regulation and then maybe one, you know, negative side of regulation, just to wrap it off.
About regulation?
Yeah. One good thing, you know what, when you look at it and say, okay, this is so good for crypto, like one solid good thing, and then this one thing you feel like, okay, regulation can be negative in this way, in this regard.
Well, I'd say that like the laws around custodians of digital assets in places like New York have provided a lot of protections for certainty to build so that people have confidence in building out those services, protecting the investors. That's a good thing, right? One bad thing is that, at least in the United States, we play by some different rules than internationally, and so there's a lot of projects that are kind of locked up. They're kind of in limbo, or projects that don't launch here. So that's the negative consequence.
Thank you so much, Dex. We look forward to having more conversations around regulation so that you can see how this can help us progress and also, you know, help us to innovate better and also be protected, because at the end of the day, we need protection. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to us.
Thank you. Appreciate it.